going to put you on the spot. He's one of our great sponsors for today. His session's coming up in a little bit. Do you do any Facebook advertising for your services?
Yeah, I do. Oh, sorry. Sanjay's on the call too as well.
Well, if you guys want to talk about it, I'd love to give you as much airtime as possible.
Go ahead, Reuben.
Yeah, we do advertising for Facebook. We have a pretty unique approach on how we do that through our hyper-local content strategy, and Sanjay can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, our focus is on hyper-local, right? Real estate at the end of the day is entirely about hyper-local. That's where local agents have the opportunity to compete. We have, and we're going to talk about this during our session, some really interesting tactics on how you can stand out online across both social, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as on search, but using hyper-local content as sort of the go-to strategy. I mean, every agent in town, as you know, is pitching their listings, their open houses. So you got to ask yourself, how am I differentiating myself from every other agent in town? And we're going to talk about some really interesting strategies that will help you do that. And part of that involves Facebook ads, Facebook and Instagram ads. So a little long-winded answer to your question, Kevin, but
it's actually short-winded, and I'm going to encourage you to go a little deeper. And here's why: we have 3 breakout sessions going on at a time. So the people that are in the room right now might not be the same people that are in the room later.
Got it. So should we just go ahead and dive into our presentation for the group? Does that work?
Yeah. If you want to do a share screen, you can do that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do that, Reuben? Let's just dive into the presentation, and we share our secret sauce, so to speak, with the group. And thanks everyone for joining. We've been partners with the Miami Association for, it's hard to believe, 6 years. And when we launched the WikiRealty platform, I met with the executives at the Miami Association, and they immediately understood the thesis because real estate was changing very quickly. And so we're excited to be once again in front of all of you. Just by way of background, to give you some context, in my former life, I was a real estate lawyer. Don't hold that against me. And a real estate developer for 20 some odd years, and developed real estate across almost every asset class across multiple states, from Wisconsin all the way down to Naples, Florida, from apartments, office buildings, hotels. I lived in Naples, Florida for 10 years, developed a large master plan golf course community. And what I saw post Lehman Brothers 2008, I'm not sure how many of you are on the call were in real estate back then, but real estate's changed quite a bit. And Reuben, I don't know if you want to go to the next slide. Sorry, the next one. And by the way, Reuben Fine is our director of sales, and he's going to be leading most of the presentation as well. But I'm just going to talk about some of the high level, sort of our thesis, so to speak. In 2008, when Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy and the world was falling apart, consumers started taking matters into their own hands, right? They were skeptical with respect to who they dealt with on real estate professional side and who they were going to pick. The large tech companies saw this and they said, look, we're going to go directly to the consumer. Let's create these cool technology platforms like Zillow did and like Quicken Loans did. And then at the same time, Facebook was coming of age too. So online was becoming a thing. And when Zillow first came out, as you know, they always told the real estate agent, hey, we're just a media company. We're not going to compete with you. So the real estate agents, paid them a lot of money just to have themselves advertised next to properties. But look, lo and behold, guess what? Now, as all of you know, they're competing with you. And so these real estate agents started thinking to themselves, okay, great. Now how am I going to compete with these large tech companies? Well, look, as a guy that's been in real estate for over 20 years, actually, I hate to say it, 25 years now at this point, the opportunity for all of you is at the hyper local level. If you develop solid strategies around hyper local, you are going to be the ones that connect directly with the consumer, very top of the funnel, and that is the opportunity. That is where the opportunity is to compete. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk about okay, when is this opportunity? One thing I've seen over the last couple of decades is most real estate professionals are very short-term focused. They're worried about the lead and am I going to get my paycheck in the next 30 days. Listen, if you're focusing on that last part of the cycle, that 60 to 90 days after a property's been identified, you risk becoming irrelevant over the long term, given that now everybody's online and they're beginning their search process much earlier, and you're probably going to leave a lot of money on the table in terms of sort of deal flow. From our standpoint, the time to connect with the consumers is 9 to 12 months out, just when they're thinking about a move, even before they've identified a property, even before they've identified, you know, the actual neighborhood that they want to live in. If you connect with the consumer at that point in time, you're going to kind of own that consumer all the way from home search all the way through closing. So that sounds great. But how do we do that? It revolves around neighborhood lifestyle information. Believe it or not, Zillow actually did a study that said that 80% or better of a consumer's decision-making process revolves around lifestyle information. So if you're the consumer, if you're the professional that's putting out that kind of valuable information, you're going to stand out as that neighborhood thought leader. You're delivering value to consumers as opposed to merely pitching your listings, and they're going to connect with you because, as I said, they're selecting neighborhood even before they select properties. So all sounds great. These are the things that you have to start thinking about. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I know Kevin said, do we do Facebook ads? Yes, that's just one component of what we do. But in order to be successful today, these are all of the things that you need to start thinking about. You know, table stakes for establishing an online presence. And you can do it, right? It just takes some time. You just have to devote some time every day to doing it, because I guarantee you that if you're not doing it, your competitor will. I'm sure there are some of the younger folks on the call today, the 22-year-olds, the 23-year-olds that are just getting out of college that say, I want to go into real estate, they're adopting these online strategies because they don't have a network. They have to build a network. So today, in post-COVID world, there's like a heightened sense for understanding that they need to have an online presence across both not only the younger generation, but people that have been in the industry for 20 years. If you are not online, you're going to lose business. So these are things that you need to start thinking about. Reuben, I don't know if you can go to the next slide. So the way we kind of think about it, if you think about how real estate is, how you generate business today, it's like it was in the old school days. It's about building trust and relationship, right? You don't just go into a networking event, walk up to the bar, meet somebody and say, hey, my name is Sally. Would you like to buy a home, or, you know, would you like to get a loan? That's just not what you do. That's just not, you know, proper etiquette, right? You start a conversation with them and sort of develop a dialogue. That's what you do online today. It's just about building trust and relationship first. Once you build that trust and relationship, then you can talk about what you do. And today online, you build that trust and relationship by delivering this sort of neighborhood insight, valuable information, stand out as the expert. And as you do that repeatedly over and over again, you're going to be the one that develops that sort of name as the local authority in your market. Once you do that, then you can talk about what your business message is, your property listing, your open houses, through various retargeting strategies that Reuben's going to talk about. So I just talked a whole lot. I mean, I would love to field any questions that the audience has at this point, and then turn it over to Reuben, because he's going to really get into the weeds. So Kevin, did I kind of really dig in as you wanted me to there?
No, that was perfect. And as a result, you get bonus time, man. So really appreciate your help.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any questions? Perfect. Don't be shy.
Great. Well, we'll answer. We'll have since we have time, we did build in time in this presentation, 4 questions at the end. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you guys how you can create hyper-local content on your own. It is more of an efficient play because, hey, this is just content that you're developing and you're posting on your social and you're creating those relationships. This is, it doesn't cost much to you. It's just a little bit of elbow grease and some time, but developing these relationships online, especially through Facebook, and now that everyone is at home, is a really good, efficient play. And it has long-term benefits for you by creating content and positioning yourself as a thought leader within the market. So I'm going to share with you guys the strategies and tactics to do this that we employ here at WikiRealty that get engagement. We get, you know, hundreds of likes and shares and comments, and that's what you're looking for, and that's what you're striving for. And that's going to happen when you start talking about what's valuable in the neighborhood. And it first starts off by focusing and targeting the neighborhood that you're looking for. One of the things that we preach to all of our clients, and a great strategy for, especially for new agents, because when you come into the market, or even existing agents, you're like, I want all of Miami, and that's great. I want you to be the king or queen of Miami. However, you know, it's really hard to market to everybody. And so one strategy that we found over the last couple of years that works really well, and it's a tried and true marketing tactic for millennia, is to really focus on and get really tight and narrow on your target market. And so we focus on neighborhoods. And when we talk about neighborhoods, it's really easy. Kind of when we look at the Google Maps, we're like, okay, you start to zoom in, you start to see the neighborhood pockets and the names like Coconut Grove, or even Southwest Coconut Grove, or where you want to focus your marketing efforts. Because one, it's more of an efficient play, and it's concentrated, and that's kind of where you want to be. It's what we call creating a beachhead, starting at one point and then expanding out as you start to build your reputation and build your brand within that local neighborhood market. So focus on the neighborhoods, get really tight with that and narrow, and then furthermore, avoid going too broad. City, or especially county. City is okay depending on where you live, but in the Miami market, city is all of Miami. So you kind of want to focus right on one or two neighborhoods. So focus and figure out what neighborhood you're looking for, because that's going to start and play into everything else that we talk about here and how you create that hyperlocal strategy. So once you find that neighborhood, you want to then say, let's say Coconut Grove, you want to start finding and looking for the high value, trending, and relevant local neighborhood news. This is what everyone on Facebook or any of the social areas, this is what they're looking for. Really, because if you think about it and you put yourself in the consumer shoes, the homeowner shoes, or the buyer shoes, if they're on Facebook, you're really doing only a handful of things. And one of the primary things you're doing on Facebook is really catching up with your friends, right? Or you're looking at what's going on in the world or what's going on in the area. You're not necessarily going to Facebook and saying, hey, let me find my realtor, or let me find a home for sale. And so you want to go and you want to speak to your audience in the platform that they're in. And a lot of people love to know, hey, what's going on in the area? And so it's as simple as this. You know, we have a sophisticated kind of process, but for you to do it yourself, simply type in this case, I think I punched in yesterday, Coral Gables, right onto Google, and then I clicked the news tab. And then there, I saw a bunch of news. From what's really neat about Google is you can do that and then say Coral Gables or Coconut Grove, and then say schools. And so it'll pull up any article or any recent news that has to do with those keywords. I found these two things that are happening. There's like a nice little footage about Coral Gables, and there's also a new Australian style brewery opening in that area. And so you want to look for these types of articles or these types of stories, especially food. We have found that a lot of the neighbors love to like, comment, and share about food, especially like new restaurants that are opening or new things that are happening in the area. So look at local sources, especially like local digital papers. Google News is probably the easiest and best way to find content. Focused on the lifestyle, entertaining, and then also dining activities and deals are really good. We did a couple articles a couple months ago where I think the aquariums were having some sales deals over in New Mexico for whatever reason. And next thing you know, like we had a viral campaign that was going through with hundreds of engagements around the local neighborhood. And so those are really good deals. Again, dining activity. Sanjay, is there anything else you want to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to say that, you know, real estate in the past was almost like the perfect insider trading market, right? the local real estate pros had this great local insight that they would keep to themselves and only share with their close network. But now with everything going digital, the realtors and other loan professionals realize that they have to sort of give up this secret sauce and this local information, about this new brewery, or there's a Starbucks that just got approved by the Planning Commission. Those are things that you have knowledge of that directly affect property values. And typically people only hear about that kind of stuff at parties when you were there and you were sharing that information. You now have the opportunity to share this secret sauce that you have, the local information, through all of these online channels. And that, as Reuben said, is precisely what you should be doing, because over time, as people are engaging with that content, what they're doing online when they engage with that content is they're raising their hand saying, hey, Reuben, I found what you said to be interesting. And when they do that, you get their name and you have the ability to connect with them on the social channels. And that's how you grow your sphere.
Yeah, there's two benefits to focusing on that hyperlocal, just the trending value topics. One, you position yourself as a thought leader and the local market expert above and beyond real estate, right? You know what's going on. You know what the city council is doing, or at least you're showing people that you do. And then number two is there's a huge SEO bump here because you are writing about the local content above and beyond, again, real estate, and doing it properly. And I'll share with you guys some SEO tactics here and how to do it. But these articles live on forever, and you are able to capture that SEO juice over time.
Can I jump in really fast?
Yeah.
Just try to get people to interact here with you guys. I'm Inez Hegeres Garcia, past residential president for Miami. I'm with Avanti Way, but one really important thing that I love the fact that you guys talking about sharing content creation has been like my baby for the past 15 years with my blog. But I think what people here in this room need to understand that's so key is to give credit to the articles. Mm-hmm. So tag people. There's nothing better than to tag WikiRealty and to tag Time Out Miami, to make sure that you're tagging the different sources, because then they're going to look at you as media resources as well for sharing the information. So I really totally, I think the reason that my blog has done so well is because I took the time to not only find the news and the relevant sources, but also to tag and give credit, which in itself just expanded my audience trifold, just because then they share their information because I'm giving them credit. So just think about that as well. And not just on a blog. Obviously, I can talk blog relationship, but like Facebook, listen, you find out a news source from you guys, tag you guys, they'll thank you. So you have more eyes on your content. So I'd love to hear that. Thank you guys for participating with us today.
Yes, that was a very good insight. Yeah, tagging is very important. You look at any of the social media, hashtag this, at that, giving credit, and being a good player in the social content news sphere. I mean, you're both not only realtor and expert there and project manager and closer, but you also have to be, in a sense, part-time news reporter of the area. So yeah, that great insight. When you do find the article that you're looking for, obviously you could do one of two things. And we see this happen a lot, which is okay. We'll grab the link of the article and we'll post it onto our social, which works. But there is another way to do this. One of the cons to just posting the article, say from Time Out and the link and then sharing it, is that when a consumer or your audience clicks on that article, because really it's just the headline, they bounce out to that article on Time Out, and you risk the chance of losing them because they're not going to hit the back button and then go back to you and look at your page, right? Because they just found you because they saw the article. So one of the ways and strategies that you want to keep that consumer sticky is to, in a sense, rewrite that article and summarize it if you wish. What you want to do is you want to absorb that article, read it, write your own personalized article. 200 to 250 words is the sweet spot. It doesn't need to be a full, novel, full review of a restaurant or a full review of, what the city council decision is or what the schools are doing. It could just be a summary of what's going on in your take, in your personality. You want to redo the headline, make it a little bit more catchy, personalized to you. You want to embed some SEO in there. So linking to your website, linking to the article, giving that credit as well. Putting in some keywords in there like the city and homes or any of the keywords that you're kind of targeting. Be personal with it. Keep the self-promotion down on there. You might have kind of a little byline that says, hey, who are you? And a few short sentences, but we find that the less you advertise yourself, the more you advertise yourself, which is kind of contrary, but it works really well. And whatever you do, don't just copy and paste. That's plagiarism, but you want to personalize your article. And once you have that article written and it's ready to go, and then make sure you have an image too as well, something that's eye-catching. Once you do that, like you said, Ms. Garcia, you want to post that on your blog and keep that there. And the reason why you want that is because your consumers are going to click that article, they're going to read it, and you want them to land in some place that you own. If you have a website or blog, which I believe most of you do, and if you don't, there are some resources for you like WordPress, Blogger. If there's some paid sites like Wix and a few others that I know some of our realtor clients choose. And there's also content platforms. Like for us, our clients on WikiRealty, a lot of them don't have websites or blogs, or they just have like a landing page. You can have a content kind of section, especially for Wiki, we just have it for our clients, but you can post it there. Whatever it is, you just have to have a vessel in where to place that content in. You want to post it there. And that increases the stickiness. You want to go ahead? Yeah.
No, and don't forget to write your opinion on these pieces, guys. Your client wants to know your opinion. So fine, Ocean Drive in South Beach will convert into outdoor dining space. What does that mean to you? So that's where you add your own personal take, your own voice, which is important because that's what attracts like-minded individuals. Don't forget Google My Business. For those of you that don't have a website, super powerful. That's a really great way to share content.
Right. Wonderful. And then when on your website, and there's 1,000 things that you want to do and optimizations, but you do want to make sure your website's optimized to increase stickiness. So, if you have property search tabs or, calls to action, multiple calls to action throughout your site, you can't just rely on the top header bar or the footer with your name and your email address and phone number. You want to pepper that calls to action and make it really easy for a consumer to contact you if they have any questions, especially if they want to comment. You want to make that easy too on your blog. But whatever it is, you want to evaluate your content on your blog, make sure that you have the proper SEO, make sure that it's fully optimized. Once you do that, then you can grab the link in your blog and then start distributing that throughout all your social. So the places that we know that are high traffic, high source, and we're able to get in front of customers, one is Facebook. Instagram is also a great place. LinkedIn is wonderful, and also Twitter. So it's really as simple as grabbing that link, posting it on all of those platforms, and get it, spread it large and wide. And that is, in a sense, how to distribute the content there. And you just sit there and wait as the neighborhood starts to like and comment and share and react to what you're writing in your opinion. From there, you want to make sure, and this is where kind of like the real strategy and the meat and potatoes is, as these customers are engaging with your content, especially with Facebook, and Kevin here, we're going to get into these ads and kind of a unique strategy that we employ that can help all of you. Retargeting isn't rocket science, and I know a lot of you probably played with Facebook and advertising. So when you write these hyper-local content, it's very specific to the area. And so what that does is it concentrates your audience. And so as the audience, in Coral Gables or Miami Beach start to comment and share, all of those people are getting tagged within your Facebook. And so when that happens, you have a really engaged audience, and you want to market to those with now your business message, because if they've engaged with your content, you have established a little bit of trust. And with that little bit of trust, you can then have the right to present your business message, which would be received a lot more than just cold. Couple things that you want to make sure, not only is it within your Facebook and in your Instagram and the tagging that's there, but also make sure that you pixel your website. That way, in case anybody that does click on your article and bounce to your site, or if you get the SEO juice and people are finding you through Google or other sources that are above and beyond your reach, that you grab those people through a pixel on your website, your web provider, and there's other resources online to kind of explain how pixeling works, but make sure that you do that, because we want to capture as many people that have engaged with your content as possible. Once that happens, you can run a retargeting ad against those people with your business message. And we found that this is the most optimal and the most engaging way to re-engage those customers that have engaged with your page or your articles. In your Facebook retargeting, you want to, when you create your audience, there's a couple tabs, I'm sure you guys are all aware, but you can add a customer list. So I know a lot of you have huge lists of existing clients, people that you've met at open houses, and other databases. So you can upload that. But also in the engagement sections for pages and Instagram, you want to select Facebook page engagement. So anybody that commented, liked, or shared your content, you want to do that also with Instagram, and then add your website there for your pixeling. One of the things that we found, and we've tested a lot of campaigns, is to optimize your campaigns against messages. And we found that this has a higher return and a higher quality lead versus what most of us will go to as lead generation. And the reason why messages work really well, and we found that they work really well, is because once you've optimized for messages, customers will ask questions, say it's about an open house or a listing that you might have. There is a prompt there. They ask a couple questions. It's in a sense, they're pre-qualifying themselves, but your key to engaging those people is to create that conversation, create the dialogue. And so with the messages, you're messaging and you're having a dialogue online, which makes that customer a little bit more sticky and allows you to qualify them even further. And we found that that's just a better way to go. Sanjay, do you have anything to add here at all?
Yeah, I just actually have a question for anyone in the group. As you know, advertising on Facebook has gotten a lot more difficult, especially with respect to the fact that, you know, you may not know, the U.S. government sued Facebook for fair housing, violating fair housing laws. So I'm just curious, anybody out there have difficulty with advertising on Facebook? I'd love to hear some of your challenges, and, you know, we can sort of speak to why hyperlocal is a great sort of solution to some of those challenges. But any insights or any experiences from anyone out there in terms of challenges with Facebook advertising? So, go ahead.
So I guess we've just started recently using the paid advertising and the Boost My Post on Facebook, and which I believe since Facebook purchased Instagram, it actually activates on both. And I found that when I try to hyper localize my boost, my post boosts and such, I don't get as much interaction as I get when I do it in other cities.
Got it.
And maybe it's just the way I'm doing it. Maybe I'm missing something or whatnot. But I found that I actually get more interaction when I advertise in places like Boston, New York, and such, in that particular way.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let me ask you this. Yeah, I see somebody chiming in. It's almost impossible to narrow your audience on Facebook, and the minimum is a 15-mile radius.
Yes, and I found that.
Yeah. So what's happened there is because Facebook has has apparently, violated fair housing laws according to the U.S. government. They said for any business message advertising that involves promotion of homes or property listings, they want to avoid any potential fair housing discriminatory practices. So they arbitrarily set a 15-mile radius. Well, for places like Miami, that really doesn't do you much good, because if you have a listing in Coconut Grove and you're basically targeting 15 miles around, you're reaching a whole bunch of people that may not be part of your target audience. And that's sort of the limitation when you're promoting listings on Facebook and Instagram. With content, however, when you get to hyper-local content, because it's not a business message, so to speak, and does not directly relate to housing promotion, you are able to take that article about a new restaurant or the new Starbucks that's been approved, and you are able to target at the hyper-local level to a much narrower radius than 15 miles. So you can target strictly Coconut Grove about Coconut Grove related content. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's kind of an interesting workaround when you start to employ hyperlocal content strategies and ad strategies together. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I do tend to forget that most of the realtors that we're talking with are residential, and most of my experience is with commercial, although I am resi-commercial.
Got it. But if you think about it, even with commercial, I remember when we were selling office buildings, the local stuff, the restaurants, the parks, the new houses that were going up, the new developments, all affected commercial transactions just as much as they affected residential transactions.
No, it doesn't.
I'm gonna add to Sanjay. Tracy, you have uncharted territory when it comes to commercial, because no commercial agent is doing this.
I know.
You and Josh take full advantage of hyperlocal content for commercial.
That's why we're here today, for this whole platform, and we're still here, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, is because we're trying to awesome. take care, jump on all of it. And I guess I didn't really introduce myself. My name is Tracy Cohn. Josh Cohn, who's on the board of directors, is my husband. We're Cohn Commercial Real Estate. And I've known Inez for quite a long time, actually. I was just reaching out to her, but and so I guess my mind is a little all over the place right now, but we were talking about Twitter, and I heard the mention about advertising, but that's just for me personally, and my experience lately I found advertising commercial properties in particular by reaching out to the other cities. I'm getting more engagement on my social media. I'm not getting more views. I'm actually getting more views locally, but I'm getting more engagement and follow through from the Outer Banks. Interesting.
So what you should, look, if as a commercial realtor, you're implementing these strategies, I will tell you that you are way ahead of most commercial realtors around the country, because the way we've seen the spectrum change is, the residential realtors kind of jumped on the online sort of marketing channel wagon quite a while ago, but they're still sort of trying to figure it out because it's complicated, it's changing every day. The commercial realtors are still down the curve. So, kudos to you for jumping on that right away, because I tell you what, even though we've been a digital world for quite some time, the opportunities to capture mind share online are just unbelievable. It's a blue ocean out there if you just implement some of these things that we're talking about today. But great stuff. Thanks, guys.
Wonderful. Let me move on here quick. And let's reload that. Hold on 1 second. Let me refresh. All right. Internet connection. Missing an image here, but when you do optimize for, when you do your retargeting ads and you optimize for messages, you will start to get a lot of inbound engagement through that. And when you do, and I'm sorry that the image here is not popping up, but I had an example of kind of some of the chats that we see on our end of customers engaging. You want to make sure that you're on top of those leads. The worst thing that you can do is do all of this work with content, and then you do retargeting, and you're optimizing everything, and you're getting a lot of engagement. And one of the things that we've seen in the past is that we don't check the inbox, and in the inbox has a lot of opportunities in there. And so you want to regularly check that. You want to make sure that you create those message templates that help you pre-qualify the customers as they come in. So when they hit that message button about your listing or about your ad or your value proposition, that there is something in there like, hey, you're looking to buy pretty soon. Are you looking to sell pretty soon? Things like that. You want to have those templates set up. They'll answer those, and you want to respond. You want to respond to customers relatively quickly here. You don't want them to sit. This is a conversation and a good opportunity for you, and use the Facebook Messenger as a follow-up system with the purpose of getting their phone number and their email and moving that conversation from the Facebook kind of chat into email, phone call, or text message, but you want to move them out of the Facebook Messenger into your own kind of private channel, and also ensure that you have that customer in your CRM. That way you can remarket to those people through a drip campaign or follow up through your CRM. And when you do that, that's the hyperlocal content, get those engagements, and then you want to retarget those customers with a business message ad. So again, in this case, it's you're building trust and relationships. You earn the right to present your business message in front of them, which is better received, and you just rinse and repeat. We have seen, and we've tested so many different types of campaigns over the last couple months and years. And what we found that doesn't overwhelm the neighborhood and doesn't make you appear like you're spamming everybody. It's walking that fine line, because you just don't want to be what we call scream marketers. They're just like, look at me, look at me, look at me. You want to pull them into you. And the best way that we found, and most optimal way, is a 4-week hyperlocal content campaign. That means week number 1, you want to do hyperlocal content. Week number 2, you want to present your business message ad. Then week number 3, you want to do hyperlocal content. And 4, you want to do your business message ad. Rinse and repeat. And if you keep this cycle going over and over again, you will then eventually start to see your efforts bear fruit in your engagements, your likes, and especially the shares, because the shares is where you want it to go, because you want to take that content. That means that content or that ad that you have placed in front of those people is valuable enough that they're sharing. And generally, people are sharing these hyperlocal content with other hyperlocal members, neighbors, and people within their area.
I like how you phrase that, Reuben. Earn the right to get your business message in front of them, and that's how consumers are looking at advertisers online today. It's like, well, why should I give this advertiser my time of day, right? And so when you're giving them information ahead of time that's valuable to them, you've built that trust and relationship and the right to now pitch your business message. I mean, like it or not, that's kind of how it works. That's how it worked in the analog world. That's how it works in the digital world.
That's right.
And if you take it a step further, Sanjay, like let's assume you posted about a new restaurant in the city that you farm. Then the next step is for you to try to interview the owner of that new restaurant. So you create even more relevant content that puts your face out there and makes you the expert and the person to go to. I always make a joke. Remember when we used to send out like recipe cards as like follow-ups through the mail? It's just, I'm probably dating myself with this one, but the reality is that this is taking over that. It's like the reason we don't have to do that anymore is because now we have this digital strength in front of us that is like super, super cool that to take full advantage of. And I put a smile on my face because I start getting creative on what kind of content you can share that makes you like the expert, but I'm gonna give you one that you may be able to use in the future as follow through, because I use this analogy all the time because I love soccer and I played soccer. So it's like you're about to score a goal, right? The goalie kind of bounces the ball and you have a chance to follow through, but you were like, so like, oh, it didn't work, that you forgot to follow through, and you could have totally made that goal. So just because a client says no the first time, you need to follow through, guys. It's the only way you're gonna make money in this industry. That second time around is so much more powerful.
Correct, 100%.
100%.
Agreed.
Yeah, and so, and this is good for expectations here. You know, look, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it does take time, and you need to be persistent and put in the work to make this happen. And it will happen. You just have to keep at it and never give up. You know, nurturing relationships, like anything, just takes time. And, you know, if you think about in the analog world where you take on an open house to meet the neighbors and nurture that relationship, it's not like you're going to get on the first go around, your first open house, you're going to get like 10 listings. No, not at all. Usually, you know, by the third, fourth, fifth open house that you did in the neighborhood, the people start to see you more and more, and they start to trust you and they start to talk to you. And that's when they're like, hey, can you give me some information of my house? Maybe we can do a CMA report and see what my house is worth. And that's where you start to foster those relationships. So it takes time to do this, and you take that analog approach and how we used to do walk the neighborhood for farming. You do that, but you're doing that. So you just have to. It just takes time. We would say that.
All right, gents. Oh, sorry. Let me
Are we a little over?
It's not a big deal, gents. I really appreciate your time. You guys gave a great session, and Ness, thanks for hopping on too. For everybody who's watching and is part of their first RE Bar Camp, communication and collaboration is what this event is all about. So please don't be hesitant to jump in. There's Sanjay and Reuben's contact information. If you have any other questions, any follow-up questions, please reach out to them. They have a great new product. They're a brand new partner with Miami, and we look forward to cultivating this relationship for years to come. So gentlemen, thank you so much for hopping on today, and hopefully this won't be the last collaboration between you and Miami YPN.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Kevin, for giving us the opportunity, and thank you all for the interaction. It's been a great discussion, and we're here. Please feel free to email us directly with any questions. We've been doing this for a while, and we're here to help.